Hey everyone, it's Dr. Danielle Clark. Welcome to Onwards with Dr. Danielle on the Win-Win Women Network. It is a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, depending on when you're tuning in. This is a live show, but that's okay if you're watching the recording. It's the same great information and the same great energy. This show's all about introducing you to healing conversations to get you unstuck. I am a business professor, intuitive life coach, spiritual teacher, and psychic medium. And today we're going to focus on a dark night of the soul. Today's episode is navigating a dark night of the soul. Now is a great time to get a pen, get a notepad, maybe get your tea, and settle in. And if you haven't checked out my website, please give it a visit. I'm at drdanielleclark.com. There you will find links to this Onwards, this show, which you can tune in every Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can also check out, I have a lot of podcast episodes on a dark night of the soul. So if you want a little bit more information, you'll find that there. And I have my blog Onwards, and I have a lot of great information about a dark night of the soul and other healing information there too. Okay, let's talk about a dark night of the soul. This is one of the most transformative times of my life. And before I was in a dark night, I didn't even know that this term or this experience existed. So I'm really passionate about introducing you to a dark night if you don't know what it is. And even if you've heard the term dark night, it's one of those terms that it shows up a little bit different for everyone. And sometimes it can mean one thing or another thing. So really just hope to expand your understanding of what it is and what it can be. A dark night of the soul it's really a sacred time in our life that is typically sparked by some sort of a loss. It can be sparked by the loss of a loved one, the loss of identity. Maybe this is a divorce. Or in my case, what sparked my dark night was the loss of a job. And I'll talk more about my dark night through this episode. And it really is most typically sparked when we have the carpet was ripped out from underneath us moments, and we just don't know what's happening. We question reality, we question who we are and everything we knew. And that really is what ego stripping is. When I say ego, I don't mean it from the sense of being cocky. I mean it from the sense of over attaching ourselves to an identity. And this could be the identity of wife. This could be the identity of mom. This could be the identity of a worker. But it's not always sparked by something big either. Sometimes we can slowly find ourselves in a dark night too, and maybe nothing concrete has sparked it. And that's okay. Whatever gets you into a dark night, just know, although yes, it is dark and it feels dark, it's sacred, and it's the universe giving you that opportunity to strip some of the ego, to strip some of that gripping that we have on titles, places, and things here in the human world, so that way we can more closely connect to our soul. So how do you know if you're in a dark night of the soul? We know it's this ego stripping, but what exactly is it, and how does it feel, and how does it show up? Well, typically the first phase, for lack of a better term, is darkness. That might be depression. That might be this feeling of, I don't know who I am. I don't know where I'm going. That like literal darkness, right? Not being able to see, not understanding the path forward. The dark night typically brings on feelings of uncertainty, confusion, lots of introspection. And it's it's an experience in life. It's a time in life that it's not just a one-day thing. It's not just a weekend thing. It's this energy. It's this process that you have to move with. So if you're feeling off a day or two, that doesn't necessarily mean you're in a dark night. Trust your intuition and do more reading and leading into the concept of dark night, and you'll see if it connects. When my dark night was sparked, let's talk about my journey a little bit. I had lost my job unexpectedly, and I instantly felt physically shut down. I was numb and lethargic. I was in bed for days. I kept questioning the past. Am I a bad person? I kept reliving a lot of traumas that had happened to me in the past, sexual trauma, emotional trauma. So there was this huge dark cloud that came on me, and it showed up physically. I remember the first 48 hours, I couldn't even get water down. I wasn't drinking. I couldn't eat. So it showed up in many ways. And what was interesting on the onset of it, I had this spiritual thirst for books on mediumship and the other side. And at that time, I didn't have a strong spiritual hold like I do today. And I kept asking myself, like, what's happening? Like, I'm feeling so low and so disconnected by myself, but I want books on mediumship and the other side. Like, that doesn't connect to me losing a job. But I honored what I wanted. I trust my intuition. I started reading books on mediumship and other spiritual concepts, and it gave me peace. And so another concept of the dark night that typically pops up that I want you to understand, it's the dark night of the soul. So you might find yourself latching on to higher level concepts, latching on or getting more curious or leaning into concepts such as God or the purpose of life, or whatever that is for you. So again, that darkness can lead us to finding some light source. So once you think you're in a dark night, and usually you're going to get some signs. So for an example, you being drawn to me today, you tuning in to a message of a dark night, there's no accidents. So you're either here because you're navigating a dark night and you need some companionship, which I'm giving you now, and some insight, or maybe you're drawn to this because you feel it might be coming, or maybe you're curious and you don't know why yet, and that's okay too. But there's no coincidence of why you're here. So for me, there was a lot of signs and synchronicities that popped up in my dark night of the soul. In fact, I sent a message to one of my friends who was also a medium at the time about me getting terminated. And she wrote back, she says, "Oh, honey, you're in a dark night of the soul. I believe in your soul. This has great potential." And what was interesting about her echoing those words, dark night of the soul, to me, and that note, I'd never mentioned that name or concept. A day or two beforehand, I had been Googling terms like spiritual depression, like can't get out of bed, but connected to spiritual things. And lo and behold, that term of a dark night of the soul came up. Okay, so we understand a little bit about what a dark night of the soul is. Let's talk a little bit about the typical movement through a dark night of the soul, so that way you can move through it with love and grace and get the most light out of it, because there is an abundance of light coming your way. So typically the first phase in the dark night, after you've experienced the darkness, and again, this isn't a perfect science. You're going to be in many phases at different times, or sometimes you're going to jump forward and back, very similar to a grief process. But just to give you a little structure and understanding here, after you've established the darkness, and while you're experiencing the darkness, There's going to be a key time in this dark night where you are going to crave and really need isolation. So don't be scared or nervous if you find yourself not wanting the same friends in your life all of a sudden, or the things that gave you joy no longer give you joy. A dark night for us to go inwards and get to know ourselves and to do any healing and stripping of ego. There is this wave of isolation and going inward. So again, don't panic if the world doesn't make sense, or you're like, well, I always used to like hanging out with Jenny, or I always used to like going to this club, and all of a sudden you don't want to. That's normal. Part of the dark night is for us to spend time with ourselves. Oftentimes the dark night is sparked because we've been too externally focused. Again, ego focused, people, places, and things, and we haven't done enough work. So ways that you can honor that is make space to go inward. And that can be through journaling. That was a big one. Just like I had that thirst for spiritual material, I had like this instant need to journal, to write, and that wasn't me before, but I honored it. And that's huge for you to hear and remember. Don't go, well, I don't journal. That seems silly, right? If you hadn't journaled before, really just let yourself break open, trust your intuition. If all of a sudden you want to journal, go inward. Reflecting is really good. Anything that just allows you maybe to turn off your brain a little bit too, right? Maybe a little adult coloring, maybe you do some weaving or some crocheting, different ways that you can go inward. Another thing that was really helpful to me in this process, like I mentioned earlier, was reading. It was a way to understand others' lived experiences and lean into higher level concepts and understand how I felt with those. So the best way to honor your dark night is to sit in the darkness, is what I'm saying. And that's a really hard message to receive. All too often, this fight flight response that we have when things change makes us want to put up some sort of a barrier, some sort of an escapism, right? So if it feels dark, if it feels like we need to go inward, we distract ourselves. Maybe we overwatch a TV show or several TV shows, or maybe we constantly scroll on our phone, or maybe we spend so much time venting and talking to others that we don't ever get to hear ourselves think. That is what you want to avoid. You should be embracing the darkness. You should be sitting with yourself. Oftentimes, it's referred to as shadow work as well. Like, get real with your flaws, your bloopers, your blunders, your mistakes. This is a really good time to own things, take stock into your life thus far. And it's not about judging yourself or having regret or guilt. It's more about getting honest and clear in the story, so that way you can move forward. The next stage, if you will, the phase of a dark night of the soul, just to help you understand what the journey might look like for you, is what I'm going to call learning to walk again. And it's not as easy. The dark night of the soul changes you. Like I said, it's this stripping of identity, and you might come out with new interests, like myself, that spiritual interest I never had before. You might all of a sudden decide you want to take a different path in life. That, like, there's a new you happening. And so how do you learn to walk again? How do you figure out who you are? Definitely take it slow. Think of yourself as that toddler, like trying to walk, or if you pictured yourself breaking your leg and the cast is removed and now you're trying to figure it out again. You want to give yourself some grace, and you don't want to all of a sudden go running back into the old you. And just know that walking again is going to hurt. It's going to be clumsy, and it's not going to be all forward moving. This is really the phase where you're trying to figure out like who you are now, and what works and what you connect with. My dark night, that kind of figuring out to walk again, I was really scared. In some ways, I think I stayed in the inward stage maybe a little too long, and used that as a form of escapism. And then when I did start socializing again with people, I noticed I had a lot of anxiety and a lot of self-doubt. I'm not worthy to be with people. These people are better than me. And it was not good. And because of those unhealthy thought patterns, unhealthy behaviors happened during my dark night, even though there were so many great things I was doing, like journaling and taking walks in nature and sharing affirmations with myself and reading spiritual focused books. It was the learning to walk again phase that was hard. And before this dark night of the soul, I could easily socialize with anyone. But now I was harder on myself than I had ever been on myself before. And as a result, there was some self-sabotage. I overdrank a few times during my dark night, and it was scary. And so I just caution you, walk again, but put some guardrails in place. And just know that this is a very sensitive time in your life. So when you're learning to walk again, it's kind of like you want it childproof. You don't want any triggers around you, okay? And so that means the people that might not best serve you, the places and the things that might not best serve you, nope, they should not be around, especially when you're trying to walk again. So just really think about that. So this learning to walk again phase of the dark night is going to be clunky. Give yourself grace. You're going to make some perceived mistakes. You're going to do some things you're not proud of, and you're going to do many things you are proud of. And that's all about the process. You're trying to figure out who you are and who you're becoming. And that leads me to the next phase of, in your dark night, once you've gone through that phase, you really want to go through a phase of making sure your changes stick. And that's important. I'm sure you've experienced, right? Like we're all like, yes, I'm going to go on this diet and I'm going to eat this then and this then and this then. And we do it for 3 days and then we slip. And what's really important about the healing potential of a dark night, because we want to get the most out of it, we want to strip our ego. And so to do that, we need to implement processes and ways of operating that will stick beyond the 3 days, beyond the week, beyond the several weeks. And so the next phase is also similar to the learning to walk again, but you're a little bit stronger. Hopefully you have a little bit more awareness and confidence, but this also makes it hard because this isn't the playground stage. This is the, okay, I'm getting real and I know this isn't serving me, and I'm going to have this difficult yet needed conversation with this person, and I'm going to remove this from my life, and I'm going to add this to my life, and I'm going to start going to these group meetings, or I'm going to start, implementing a once a week therapy session, whatever it is. It's so important in a dark night that you take that space to make it stick, to make changes, long lasting changes. And so again, we've up to this part, I've talked about the darkness, I've talked about going inward, I've talked about learning to walk again, and I've talked about making changes that stick. But keep in mind, you might be making changes that stick in a few areas, and in a few areas you still might be in the darkness, or you still might be in the inward stage. So again, it's not perfect. And so sometimes you're going to feel like you're not making progress. And I just want you to know you are. It's very common for the dark night of the soul for you to feel uncertain, right? Again, your reality is shifting. The good news throughout all of the stages, and then towards the end especially, you experience the light. There are so many blessings and so many beautiful, transformative uncoverings of a dark night of the soul. My many gifts of the dark night of the soul. Gosh, how do I even phrase it? I learned I was over critical of people and experiences. I hadn't realized how judgy I was, for a lack of a better term, right? This person talks too fast. This isn't working. This is happening. Like, I just walked around with a scowl, and really going through this spiritual depression and opening up my heart and connecting more to universe helped take away that anger that I didn't even know I was carrying. The dark night also gave me an opportunity to realize I was walking around with unresolved trauma, and it gave me the opportunity to experience healing modalities that I never would have even known about or considered, such as Reiki and integrated energy therapy. During my dark night of the soul, I was also just so broken open. I didn't have that same fight in me. And because I didn't have that same fight in me, I said yes to a lot of things that I normally wouldn't have. As an example, I had always been afraid of dogs. My dad raised me to think they couldn't be trusted. He raised me to be scared of them. I'd be on one side of the street, and if I saw a dog coming my way, I would intentionally cross the street to avoid a dog. And in my dark night of the soul, with my heart broken open, I had the opportunity to adopt a dog, and I said yes, which is so bizarre because that's not the old me. That's not the ego-focused me. It would have been like, I don't want a dog. They're dirty. You can't trust them. We don't have the time. We don't have the budget. But my husband's always wanted a dog. It's been one of the few things that he's expressed that he truly wants to experience in this lifetime. And again, I was just always closed off and sour about it. And I was broken, so I said yes without the fight. And Charlie, my yellow lab, who's now 4, has been one of the biggest and most beautifulest gifts of my life. And he's my best friend. He sleeps with me. We take walks all the time. Like, I am not scared. I needed him. He taught me unconditional love. He made sure when I was feeling my lowest during my dark night that I still got outside, that I got my exercise. So that is such a big blessing in my dark night of the soul. I had some needed conversations, especially with my husband. I realized our marriage needed a rekindling, if you will. And years have passed now since I've been in my dark night, and I can tell you the lightness has stayed with me. And I think that might be the most remarkable blessing, where just every day just feels lighter, if you will. Like, there's just a little bit of ease. I can step back and not hyperreact to things anymore. I have a stronger connection with universe. So I hope that you also keep your eyes and your heart open to all of the beautiful blessings of a dark night of the soul. As clients will ask me, in a desperate, hurried voice, like, how long is the dark night going to take? Or, why is this happening to me? This is a punishment. No. So I can't tell you how long it's going to take. Everyone's different. This is a journey. I will tell you, though, if you want to get through it with as much ease and as much of a chance to go through it without taking too many steps back, again, avoid that escapism. But it's a journey, and rather than fearing it or looking at it as a punishment, universe is not punishing you. As a psychic medium who connects with angels and the departed daily. I've connected with thousands of beautiful beings on the other side. I can tell you with confidence, nobody's here punishing you. The dark night really is a gift if you look at it that way. It is an opportunity for you to get closer to your true self and who you truly are. So a lot of going through a dark night of the soul is also the way we look at it, the way we show up. And just keep yourself comfortable. Keep yourself comfortable for the ride. It's the little things in life, right? What's your specialty? Make sure you have that at home, right? Wear your cozy slippers, maybe watch a few extra movies. Like, keep yourself comfortable during this process, but also create space and a heart open for the uncomfortable, because that's where the magic comes from. And be open to the magic. For me, I started receiving so many signs and synchronicities from the universe. A big thing I started getting was license plates. So my dad is in spirit, and he was in spirit during the onset of my dark night of the soul. And his phone number prefix was 438, and that was my phone number when I lived with him as well. And all of a sudden, I'd be out doing an errand, and I'd start seeing license plates with 438. How remarkable, how magical is that? So even though I'm going through this deep spiritual journey of trying to figure out who am I without this ego identity, now that I've lost my job, I'm still receiving love, and I'm still receiving magic from the universe. And in closing right now, what I would encourage you to do to also have a softer dark night of the soul experience, if you will, is if you're not in one right now, take the time to talk to your ego and understand your ego. And if you are in a dark night, that's important too. Maybe get your journal out and just ask, like, where do I have a really strong ego connection to? Am I over identifying as cancer survivor, over identifying as manager at Best Buy, over identifying as wife? All of these things are beautiful. And of course, we want to feel a connection to who we are in this world. But if you're feeling a gripping, or if your soul purpose in your mind is just these identities, it serves as a good opportunity to do some of that ego stripping work now. You are whole, you are loved, you are worthy, regardless of your roles here. All of us are light beings, and just us being is what the universe wants. So that's a really, really great one. Like, where do you hold some ego? Where do you hold some trauma? Where do you hold some shame? If you do some of that exploring now, you'll be in a really, really good spot. I wanted to leave you with an affirmation that I wrote that I hope you will use when you need it. It is, I embrace the darkness and know it will show me the light. I accept my discomfort and welcome change. I'm going to give that to you one more time. I embrace the darkness and know it will show me the light. I accept my discomfort and welcome change. All right, my friends, thank you for tuning in on Win-Win Woman Network. Please tune in live. I'd love to have you with us at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fridays. You can go to drdanielleclark.com. The link is there. You can also go to Win-Win Women's Network, and the link is there. And I will see you soon. Remember, it's the cracks in your heart that let the light shine in. I'm sending you love and light and blessings. Be well and reach out if I can do anything for you, especially a one-on-one. I'd be honored. You can book on my website, book for an intuitive coaching call, and we can explore your dark night, and I can give you more love and guidance. Okay, bye now. Take care.